On the last weekend, firing of rockets against the city of Samara. Was it a mistake, or the Polisario is trying to spread the attacks beyond the berm? Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, Javier. Well, let me say first that it is really interesting that the ambassador of the Occupying of Morocco follows our military communiques. He showed you a copy of the latest, 901. He's the same ambassador who, in February 2021, sent a letter to the SG saying that there is no armed conflict in Western Sahara. The answer to your question is the content of our latest military communique, number 901, with the Frente Polisario, which has been engaged in an armed liberation struggle against the Moroccan occupying forces since the 13th of November 2020, did target the sector of Samara, Mahbas, and Farsiya, and it's not the first time. Several times these three sectors, as sectors in Al-Sird or Mudrega, have been targeted. We are in an open war. The occupying state of Morocco may not want to recognize that, but the fact is there. Since the 30th of November 2020, as a result of the blatant violation by the Moroccan occupying forces of the terms of the ceasefire, the Sahrawi people have been engaged in a liberation war to resist occupation of their land. So the attacks of yesterday, or the day before, or the year before, almost 3 years, are all targeting every position where the occupying forces are. And the objective is very clear, and we make no secret about it. We want to liberate our land from the Moroccan occupation.
And do you regret the death of civilians in these attacks?
We have read in the press, the Moroccan press, and the Moroccan ambassador said that about civilians. But if we want to talk about civilians, in this case, since we talk about the war in Western Sahara, let me just share with you some of the details and information compiled by whom? By the United Nations Mission for the Referendum in Western Sahara, MINURSO, and reflected in Secretary General's report. The Secretary General report and MINURSO reports all demonstrate that the occupying state of Morocco has deliberately targeted Sahrawi civilians and assets since November 2020, using lethal weapons, including UAVs, which has callously killed many Sahrawis, civilians. I'm talking about even civilians from other countries, including Algeria and Mauritania. The latest civilians being killed by a Moroccan UAV or drone was on the 25th of October in the area of Gleibat al-Fula. And MINURSO personnel were there yesterday investigating this attack. Let me remind you, as I said before, that in a letter addressed to the SG on the 23rd of February 2021, the ambassador of the Moroccan occupying state to the UN asserted that there was, and I quote, total absence of any armed conflict, unquote. Let me also remind you that according to the UN Secretary General's report of 2022, the occupying state of Morocco claims that, and I quote, has never targeted and will never target civilians, unquote. However, in 2021 and 2022, estimates indicate that 24 civilians, including a 15-year-old boy, have been killed and 12 wounded by Moroccan UAVs airstrikes. 26 civilians, cars, and heavy trucks have also been destroyed between 2021 and 2022. Now, the SG report of 2022 mentions an early strike that took place early November 2021 in Bir Lihlu area involving 2 Algerian trucks, which resulted in the death of 3 Algerian civilians caused by the explosion of an air-to-ground munition and the resulting fire. other aerial strikes, air, and we always talk about, in these cases, as reported in this report, air-to-ground munition involving civilians that took place in the Nijik area. All these are in the liberated territories of the Sahrawi Republic, and one of them took place even in the vicinity of MINURSO team site in Agouenit. According to the SU report of this year, on the 3rd of November, a MINURSO investigating team visited a site of an aerial attack in Nijik area in the liberated territories of the Sahrawi Republic, where it observed the charred remains of 5 individuals and 1 destroyed vehicle. On the 30th of January 2023, a MINURSO investigation team visited the site of an aerial strike that occurred on the 12th of January in Tifarit area in the liberated territory of the Sahrawi Republic and observed the remains of 1 individual and 1 destroyed vehicle. On the 1st of February this year, a MINURSO investigation team visited the site of an aerial strike in Bir Lihlu in the liberated territories of the Sahrawi Republic and observed the remains of 3 individuals alongside 1 destroyed vehicle. 1 Mauritanian mining permit and identity card was found at the scene. Now, if there is no armed conflict in Western Sahara and the Moroccan occupying forces do not target civilians, the ambassador of the Moroccan occupying state did not talk about any civilians in whatever way, as they claim. So why does the UN Secretary General state in his observations and recommendations of this year, and I quote, it also remains essential that the Royal Moroccan Army, that's the occupying Moroccan forces, refrain from conducting military activities that have an impact on civilians and directly or indirectly affect MINURSO operations east of the Berm, that's the liberated territories of Western Sahara. These are the facts reflected not by me or the Frente Polisario, by the Secretary General. The occupying state of Morocco have been targeting deliberately civilians using lethal weapons, including UAVs, to callously kill Sahrawi civilians and even civilians from neighboring countries, including Algerians and Mauritanians. These are the facts. I'm not talking about what Moroccan media reports, because their credibility is at the same level of the credibility of their representative at the United Nations, which I have just shown what kind of credibility is that.
So, last question. I understand that you have the same right to retaliate with the same civilian targets.
The Frente Polisario, and based on its values and full compliance with the rules of international humanitarian law, has never targeted any civilians in its war of liberation against Morocco. Its decades-long record attests to this, and we challenge anyone to prove the contrary. I think everybody knows that our liberation struggle has always been engaged on the basis of resisting illegal occupation of our land. We have never targeted any civilians, but who is targeting civilians is the one that the Secretary General is talking about. And I invite all of you to read Secretary General's report to know exactly who is targeting Sahrawi civilians and civilians from neighboring states, including, as I said, Algeria and Mauritania. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Ambassador. All the best.